Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Multifamily with the one and only Veena Jetti. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you.
And one of the things that we love about multifamily is that it does allow you to diversify your portfolio. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So first of all, what does it mean to diversify your investments?
Yeah, so diversification is a really important asset allocation strategy. And let's caveat this whole conversation with I'm not a financial advisor or I have no licenses to give you financial advice. You should always run this by somebody who is a fiduciary to you or has intimate knowledge of your personal portfolio before taking this into account. So now that the disclaimer is out of the way, the diversification of your portfolio is important because what you don't want to have happen is have any one thing happen to a single asset and all of a sudden you've wiped out all of your capital or you're facing volatility in any one asset or one investment, right? And this doesn't just apply to multifamily. This applies to any asset class that you're in and any investment that you make. You don't want to put 100% of your money into Amazon, for example, right? Because if Amazon goes down or loses value or whatever, your entire portfolio is at stake. So what you want to do is you want to have what's called diversification or a hedge in your portfolio. So maybe you have a small percentage to Amazon and maybe a small percentage to another stock and maybe some amount to real estate. And within real estate, maybe you're invested in multifamily or single family or REITs or land, or there's all different ways to make money in all these different asset classes, but you want to make sure you're diverse so that any one sector moving or changing negatively doesn't affect your whole overall position in a very impactful or significant way.
That's right. And at the same time, you have that peace of mind that if something didn't work as expected, you already can rely on the other investments that you have
to continue performing.
So I know that in the case of multifamily, you are kind of diversifying already because it has multiple doors.
Yes.
But what are some of the benefits of owning multiple multifamily buildings?
Yeah. So just by being in any one multifamily asset, you're inherently diversified in that asset alone, right? Because you're no longer susceptible to what any one unit is doing. If one unit doesn't pay rent, one unit vacates, okay, fine, that's part of a much larger portfolio. Whereas if you're invested into just one single family home and that tenant vacates, you all of a sudden have zero income for that month. If they stop paying rent, you have zero income for that month. So inherently, multifamily provides diversification within each asset itself. On top of that, if you invest into multiple assets, so let's say you're in 3 to 5 multifamily assets, you're now diversifying across those assets and all of the doors within that asset, those sub assets as well.
That's right. And at the same time, it gives you the security that in case any emergencies were to happen, you know that you have other assets that you can rely on as well. Because well, right now we're seeing the Hurricane Ian, right?
Yes.
And imagine if you were to have like some multifamily assets in just the areas that this hurricane is targeting. That would be really tricky.
Yeah, it can definitely be hard. So this is why I think, if you're in hurricane areas or just areas that are prone to natural disasters, you have plenty of cash on hand to withstand any kind of acts of God that might happen. We do own assets in Florida, and it's a really tough thing because you care about your tenants and you care about your residents. And so you want to make sure that they're taken care of. So whenever we have, hurricanes coming or we know that there's inclement weather happening in these areas, we immediately start putting into motion our disaster recovery plan or business continuity plan. And so it's really important that when you're investing, you have a plan for these things, right? So we're not trying to plan when we find out that there's a hurricane coming. We have plans across assets of what happens if there is a threat of a hurricane, what happens if there's a tornado threat, what happens if there's a pandemic. We've now added that to our disaster recovery plans. What happens if there's a fire, what happens if there's theft or something like that. So we have all of these different scenarios that we've thought out ahead of time, and we train all of our employees about, okay, if there's a hurricane, this is who is in charge. This is the person that's going to be communicating. And then each team member knows what their action items are, what their position is in the chain of command. So it's like business continuity, disaster recovery, BCDR. A lot of sponsors do not have this in place. Oh, wow. And it can be really challenging. And I'll tell you, even for us, when COVID hit, we didn't have a disaster recovery plan in place for a pandemic, because we
Nobody was
never
expecting
thought
that,
of a
yeah.
pandemic happening. But now we do. So we have protocols in place. So if so-and-so is triggering the plan, they green light it, and then there's a whole series of actions that happen afterward, and then we can keep the plan up to date and keep making sure that all of our onboarded team members are training for that. So it's really important to maintain stability on the asset when there's a short period of instability. So when something like Hurricane Ian happens, which is obviously unfortunate, our first goal is to protect our residents. So we'll go down, we'll help board up windows, whatever as necessary. We also start triggering plans for food support, for water, helping make sure there's water, getting residents to safety, evacuating if necessary. So those are all things that get triggered when there's something imminent or on the horizon for us.
Did any of your assets in Florida suffer any damages throughout the hurricane?
Thankfully, not during this one, but we've definitely had wind damage to roofs in the past. Here in Texas, we had one asset that was hurt by a tornado. It happened right after we closed too. So that was really fun.
Oh, wow.
It was 10 or 15 days after we closed, and we're like, oh, okay, this is great. But these are things that happen. These are things that as a sponsor, you have to be prepared for. You have to know that they're going to happen. You have to anticipate that they're going to happen. You have to make sure that you know what you're doing in the chance that something happens. You have to know who's going to be operating, who's the chain of command, where do people go? Because in times of chaos like that, everybody wants leadership. They want someone to take the reins and make quick decisions that are confident and that are moving forward in the right direction, with the number one goal, no matter what, being protecting life and making sure everybody is safe. Money can be made, we can rebuild assets, all of the things can be replaced, but we can't replace if someone gets hurt. Right, exactly. That's right. So that's always our main focus on our assets.
And if anything, I feel like when you're in real estate, you are providing homes for people, and these people are not just your source of income. They're actually your partners within your business.
Yeah, they're lifeblood for us on the asset. They're what makes this community go round, and we want to make sure that they like living there. Look, we've all lived in apartments before. I know what it's like to be an apartment dweller, and I would be really upset if our landlords didn't care about us. And I want to make sure that our residents know that we care about them and we're creating a community around them as well.
That's right. And that's one of the beauties about multifamily, that you kind of create that huge family of people that are partnering in your success as an investor. Yeah. Now, when it comes to multifamily, what are some of the other benefits besides having this community and this beautiful family that you have seen when it comes to investing into these big buildings?
Yeah. So outside of, the diversification and being able to really make a difference and really improve the community, from the investment side, it's got a great return for the amount of risk you take on. It's a very stable asset class. Historically, over the last several decades, it's performed better than any other asset class, and it's outperformed the market hands down with no questions asked. It also provides great tax efficiency. We have the opportunity to 1031, so we can even maximize our tax efficiency after we sell an asset. And it really allows us to get to scale quickly. So instead of trying to find 100 single family homes, we can buy one asset with 100 doors in it, and management becomes much more effective because you have the power of scale.
That's right. And if anything, it kind of helps people fulfill their dreams, however big or small they are. If they want to stay with a smaller unit, such as 36 or so doors, or something as huge as 500 doors, they can always dream as big or as little as they want.
Absolutely. Which I recommend everybody dreams bigger.
For sure. Big or bigger.
Yeah, big or bigger. Which one?
That's right. Any last tips for someone that is looking to diversify their portfolio within multifamily?
Yeah, I think that diversity is good, but don't be so worried about diversity across markets. Sometimes it's better to be focused in one market because you can get to more operational efficiency in that one market by really going in and let's say you can negotiate a master contract across your asset. Maybe you can get a better landscaping contract. Maybe you can get a better pool contract. All of those things are really important. And so when you are looking at assets, don't necessarily look for different markets. Look for where you can be the most efficient and look for the best possible returns you can generate on each asset.
That's right. Because I feel like at that point, you could have the same company, for example, for landscaping within the same city, serving all of those units that you have within the same city, saving you a whole bunch of money for sure.
Yes.
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much, Veena. And thank you to our audience. So there you have it. There are multiple ways for you to diversify your assets within multifamily. So no better way to have more eggs in different baskets. So we're going to see you on the next episode. Bye-bye.